Morning all, welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. My name's Gary and a couple of things to talk with you about today. So Southampton, I drove down there to Southampton yesterday, so I want to cover that. I think sometimes you see things a little bit differently from inside the ground to what you do if you're watching it on telly. Also, Vladimir Coufal being attacked on social media, horribly today and yesterday. I want to cover that as well. But before I go there, give the video a watch if you like it. Please subscribe to the channel Claret and Booze, give us a like and hit the bell notification icon. So get that out of the way, let's carry on with the show. So drove down to Southampton, nice away day, had a few beers and a brewdog beforehand. Formation came out and an hour before kickoff, and I thought, oh dear God. Now we were worried that Zuma was ill and that Dawson had taken more than a dead leg the other night. But what we saw in the back line was nothing short of shocking. I mean, it was just full of fullbacks, right? It seems like the default position when we haven't got enough regular centre halves is to go a back three, because I don't know. I think the logic might be, having three, you might not make as many mistakes as if you only have two of them. I don't know. But you think back to last season where we played at Southampton, another game I went to, we played a back three, we got slaughtered in the cup. And then in the away game against Spurs in the cup, where again, we didn't have many centre-halves available, so we just thought, well, three's better than two. So even though we haven't got centre-halves, we play three players, that's fine. Well, look, it didn't work. The first half was diabolical. I mean, first minute we got a corner, right? And we thought, oh, this looks all right. Then the tide just turned. The tide turned and the back line just looked really flimsy. And we started getting deeper and deeper, and Southampton had tons of the ball. They were running us ragged, to be fair. I think again, I was stood right behind the goal. And there were two absolutely fantastic saves from Fabianski, really good saves, which you might not have appreciated unless you were behind the goal where I was. And the goal, which came after about 20 odd minutes, that was just a debacle. I mean, it was just a debacle. It was a poor clearance from Thomas Souček to start with. I know the referee got in the way of Bowen, but I thought it was tame from Bowen, really tame. And the shot took a wicked deflection. Again, standing behind the goal, you can see this, right? And the deflection just took it way out of the reach of Fabianski. He had no chance. Of getting that goal. Anyway, look, we kind of got a little bit better as the half went on. We started, we had a few shots. I think Skamaka's little shot was good. It was about a foot wide. He doesn't need a second invitation. I think, though, we were looking really, really poor down the right-hand side with Coufal and with Bowen. And I don't think it's a coincidence. It's not an excuse, but I don't think it's a coincidence that, a couple of games, Kerr has replaced Coufal and Bowen has looked a hell of a lot better. This was Bowen from a couple of weeks ago. He was awful. And as we were pushing forward down the right-hand side, the amount of times Coufal just checked back and passed it inside when Southampton were there, they were a team there for the taking, as we saw later in the second half. I mean, they were, if you went at them defensively, they were pretty weak. And we didn't do enough of that. We definitely didn't do enough of that first half. But anyway, look, it was in all honesty, when it got to half time, I was quite happy. That we were 1-0 down, because the amount of possession they had and a number of decent shots that Southampton had, there was probably two or three very decent shots. Just thinking, oh God, we got away with one there, but let's come out in the second half and do better, because you couldn't do worse, right? Also, a lot of people were digging out Thilo Kehrer, saying he was a catastrophe at the heart of defence. I think all three of them were a catastrophe. as a back three. They don't like playing in a back three. They don't know what it takes to play in a back three. Like I said, it's just a formation of convenience, I think. Putting Emerson outside on one side where he was completely ineffective going forward, putting Coufal out wide on the other side. I mean, again, you expect more from Emerson, right? He's supposed to be a wing-back, and he didn't show very good wing-back-ship. That's a word, isn't it? Yesterday. So, yeah, disappointed with him. The one, a few bright sparks. I think also it has to be said from the kickoff, and this is something I noticed, a player that always gets a load of grief, and that's Thomas Souček. He didn't have a good game. Like I said already, he played an important part in their goal. However, he was clearly, and Dec were clearly tasked with protecting that defence. And that happened from the kickoff. I mean, from the get-go, repeat myself again, but standing behind the goal, you had a bloody good view of it. From the get-go in that first half, Thomas Souček was an additional defender back there heading balls away. And you saw what happened late in the game, and I'm going to come to the second half in a minute, where Declan Rice was actually back in the full-back positions, clearing up mess in the both left back and right back. So those two players were definitely tasked to be additional defenders, at least for some of the game. Right. So on to the second half. So this is where things took a little bit of an uptick. In fact, a lot of an uptick. I think what happened with the thing that really changed the game was bringing Benny on. Benny for Emerson was a great substitution. I hoped at the time that he would do something on the other side as well, because Bowen clearly weren't playing well. So replace Bowen with, I don't know, Antonio maybe. But that's a strategy that's foreign to Dave. Anyway, what happened was Benny came on and he started really running at Walker Peters at the right back, and he couldn't handle him. And Benny was all over the place. He was really making a pest of himself, and the goal came from him. I mean, he running down the line, keeping hold of the ball, passed it back to Cresswell, passed it across to Rice, a 1-2 with Rice, and what a fantastic finish from Rice. I mean, that was top draw. I just watched it back. It was a top draw finish. It really was, and lots of celebrations. It was all going mad in the West Ham end. A few people got a little bit over exuberant. I was standing right on the divide behind the goal between us and the Southampton supporters. Some bloke landed on my back, nearly took me across the barrier with him, so I had to put him back in his seat. But get excited, but people are entitled to get excited, and that's fine. I was excited myself, let's be honest. Fucking great celebration, absolutely great celebration, and from then we thought, oh, here we go, game on, looks good. For the next 15-20 minutes, we were all over them, literally all over them, and the way I saw it was they were going to crumble at any second. We were making chance after chance, getting corner after corner. How many bloody corners did we have? And they were all rubbish. It was coming. The goal was coming. And then Hassan Hootel made 4 desperate substitutions. I mean, he didn't muck around, did he? He brought 4 players on. Moyes didn't react to that. Now, we still had a lot of possession. We still made a few more chances. But at that time, I think that time more than ever was the right time for Moyes to actually go for it. And he didn't really go for it. Going for it would have involved putting Antonio on to replace Bowen and playing Antonio and Scamacca, because Southampton were vulnerable, really vulnerable. I mean, as you saw at the end, I mean, they were desperately hanging on, clinging on for a point. That meant the world to them. We had, look at that spell of possession we had right at the end in injury time. I mean, they couldn't get the ball off us. It must have been like 45 passes there, mustn't there? But it just never ended. It was the cutting edge. I thought it was all in summary, I think it was a good point, but I think it was 2 points lost. I think before the game, looking at the formation, I said I'll take a point here. I weren't prepared to take a point at the end of the game because I thought we should have had all 3. But having said that, we could have lost the game in the first half. Let's be honest. So look, I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. I just got to say that getting back from Southampton yesterday was a nightmare. I live in Romford. It took me 4.5 hours to get home. Waze took me down the A3. Then because the M3 was shut, we got to the M25. The M25 was shut. It was torrential rain. People drive like arseholes when it's raining, don't they? But anyway, that was a nightmare. So 1-1, bit downbeat, nightmare drive home. Woke up today thinking, we should have taken all 3 points. Interestingly, at the end, I mean, the players came over because I think Thilo Kehrer, he helped tidy up in the first half from Aaron Cresswell's lack of pace quite a lot. I know he was disorganised himself, but he was, they had a very fast player on the right. Whenever he got a run on Cresswell's side, Kehrer would peel off and chase him. He did the same in the second half as well, and Kehrer looked quite strong in the second half, to be fair, in that makeshift defence. And the crowd was singing Tilo at the end, and so I think he had, given the sort of curveball formation that he had to play in, I think he did sort of all right after a shambolic start. But I wish we just didn't use this back three as a sort of go-to tactic when we haven't got enough players. Surely it's better. Surely it would have been better yesterday to put Declan Rice at centre half, who can play centre half, right, alongside Thilo Kehrer in a back two. Bring Downs into midfield. Right, keep the formation the same. Don't switch it just because we're weak. We're weakened already. We're missing some players. You're making us even weaker by playing an unfamiliar formation. And the back three is an unfamiliar formation. It's clear that the players, especially when you've got a load of fullbacks playing it, it's clear that they're not comfortable in that position. Best to have a straightforward, normal strategy, a normal formation. 4-2-3-1. No, why not? Why didn't we do that? But anyway, look, disappointing. Now, moving on to the next story, and this is around Vladimir Coufal. So he tweeted something after the game yesterday, one of his usual sort of loving tweets. We will go on and blah, 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 fight another day, etc. Anyway, he was absolutely slated by quite a few West Ham fans on there, right? Now, if you think for 1 minute that Vladimir Coufal deliberately goes out and plays poorly, then there's something not quite right with you. No player goes out and deliberately puts in a bad performance, right? He's lost his form. He's also lost a bit of pace. I don't know whether the game's catching up with him or his age is catching up with him or whatever, but this ain't the guy's fault. Don't get personal with him. I like to think anyone that's watching this video wouldn't get personal with him. But there are so many muppets on Twitter, and it's horrible. It got so bad, the abuse got so bad that Coufal had to delete his tweet. And frankly, that's embarrassing, right? That's really embarrassing. So look, if you're watching this video, give Vlad a little bit of love on Twitter. Give him a little bit of love. Let's be the antithesis of those idiots who had a go at him, right? It's bad enough you're playing bad. He knows he's playing bad, right? He knows he's playing badly. He doesn't need his nose rubbed in it. All right. So anyway, look, that is the show. Bit of a downbeat one today, I'm afraid, for a Monday morning. Hopefully things will get a bit better later in the week, although I won't melt on my breath because I've got to play Liverpool. Bloody hell, don't fancy that. I hope Zuma and Dawson come back for that one. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel, Claret and Booze. Hit the bell notification icon and give us a like. It helps us a lot. Until next time, see you soon, and come on, you irons.